don't call you things like cute or hot. They call you things like stunning, gorgeous, shit with syllables. Things that would take a 20-something guy a little while to settle down. And older guys aren't like cute or hot either. You know, they're handsome, distinguished, like old pictures of your grandpa you shouldn't look at too long. You ever find one of those in an old dusty box? You're like, who is that? Oh, that's wrong. Okay. They're not your family in those pictures yet. They're just the past. It is a gray area. Oh, I'll get weirder. You ever see a picture of your parents when they were young and hot and you get like weirdly mad because you know they would have never dated you? I saw a picture of my dad in college football once. I didn't talk to him for 3 weeks. I'm like, you would have left me at a drive-in, you Danny Zuko piece of shit.
Good morning. It's Thursday, Jordan Peterson Thursday, March the 19th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and Jordan Peterson. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. And now, Varney and Company.
He picks it up. Stu, take it away.
Good morning, Maria. Good morning, everyone. We have new developments in the war, and the markets are indeed reacting. First, Operation Epic Fury. After Israel attacked the South Pars Nat gas facility, Iran retaliated with an attack on the world's largest nat gas plant, which is in the Gulf state of Qatar. The president's not happy with the Israelis. He told them, don't do that again. The Iranians have escalated their attacks on energy operations in the Gulf, and they have used cluster munitions to attack Israel, killing 4. At a press briefing this morning, the Pentagon wants an extra $200 billion to fight the Iran war. All right, here's the fallout from all of that. Oil remains close to $100 a barrel. Right now, we're quoting it at 97.10. We've got Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He said we may unsanction Iranian oil, which is on the water. That would release about 140 million barrels of oil to the supply. The price of oil, though, still at $97 a barrel. Regular gas, well, that's moving up perilously, close to $4 a gallon, $3.88 right now. And in Europe, a sudden sharp spike in energy prices. Germany now has $8 gas. This is inflationary, and that's raised interest rates. Look at this, the 10-year Treasury yield, 4.30%. And look at the 2-year, closing in on 4%. You're looking now at 3.90. Stocks headed lower again. The Dow Industrial is looking at a 300-point loss at the opening bell. Same for the Nasdaq, down about 200. Look at Micron. After a huge run-up, it is pulling back big time this morning, despite issuing a stellar financial report. This could be a case of buy on the rumor, sell on the news. Down $29, 6%. Gold sinking, $4,500 an ounce. Look at that, it's down $350 an ounce, just like that. Bitcoin holding at 69,200. It's down a little. And on the show today, we have Vice President Vance. He's going to meet oil company executives. He has said the rise in energy prices is a temporary blip. $4 gas has the administration rattled. No improvement at the airports, long lines at TSA checkpoints, more sick calls. There's talk that some small airports may have to close because they can't guarantee security if they don't have enough TSA staff. And in our search for something positive, we bring you the World Happiness Report. Finland at the top for the 9th year in a row. The report's authors say the Finns are wealthy, they have a welfare state, and they live long and healthy lives. America comes in at number 23. Excessive use of social media undermining our happiness, especially among young girls. Thursday, March 19th, 2026.
And that was Varney and Company, Nonprofit News Now. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Dr. Berg.
The number one best food in the world that can help unclog your arteries, prevent a heart attack and a stroke. This is better than aspirin. Aspirin's been around for 4,000 years. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a tiny little over-the-counter pill that's used for pain, fever. And yes, aspirin has saved a lot of lives. What else could do the same thing, but with less side effects? And before I talk about the actual food that will do this, let's talk about the active ingredient in that food that does the magic of preventing this clot formation. And that compound is an omega-3 fatty acid. In omega-3, you have EPA and DHA, the best food that has EPA. You do have salmon, mackerel, you have any of the fatty fish. You also have fish oil, and all of those have plenty of EPA. But there's one additional food that has some extra benefits that take this to the next level, and that would be cod liver oil.
And that was Dr. Berg. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, motivation.
Life will tempt you to become bitter. Age will make you bitter. Because during age, you collect enough experiences to become cynical till after a while, you don't expect anything good to happen because you've been through so many bad things that if anybody comes knocking at your door, you're predisposed to think it's something evil. You have to be careful lest you become bitter. Either your troubles make you better or they make you bitter.
We mature with damage, not with the years. You gain wisdom from your wounds. You will grow through what you go through, but you must be willing to go through it.
Don't you give up on your dream. I don't care if you don't have the money, you don't have the help, and you don't have the family for it, and you don't have the background for it, and you don't have the friends for it. Don't you give up on your dream. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. It may take you twice as long. You may have to take courses and classes. You might not read as fast. You might not move as quick. You might not have as much. But don't you quit.
The days that break you are the days that make you. Every time you go through those dark times and you fight your way through to the other side, you're getting stronger.
It takes courage to be successful. It is far easier not to be successful. It takes courage to be exceptional. It takes courage to be wise. It takes courage to be educated. It takes courage to be knowledgeable. Because the moment you do, but you don't talk like you forgot where you came from. Look at you, talk to it takes courage.
Is it easy? No, it's not easy. It's not easy living your dream. It's not easy reinventing yourself. It's not easy sticking to and focusing on your goal. It's not easy being happy in the midst of a great deal of negativity. It's not easy to remove people from your life that are no longer good for you. I mean, when you experience defeat and failure again and again and again, it's not easy to pull yourself back up and start all over again. It takes a great deal of courage to face yourself and say, no, my life is not what I want it to be, and I can change. That's not easy.
It takes guts. You got to dig down deep to gut it out. Keep on going again and again and again. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe in your abilities, your ideas, unquestionably. No, it's hard. Yes, it's hard. It's difficult. And it's worth it. It doesn't matter what it costs. I'm not going to rest until I have it. I'm going to do it. And if this is the price that I must pay, then so be it.
When you make up your mind, making up your mind is powerful. Some of us, we make up our mind and say, we're going to stay in this. I'm going to stay in this mess. I'm not going to go back to that, or I'm not going to quit. Or whatever the situation may be, you got it done. You found a way. You created a way. You prayed a way. So when you make up your mind, it's over. You got to already make up your mind before you get to cancer. You got to make up in your mind before you get to the exam and pass the exam. You got to look at it before you even get to it.
And that was motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, meditation. And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Monty Franklin.
Translating Australian words. What is chockers?
It's full or crowded.
I see. Okay, what is hard yakka?
That's just hard work. It's a very old term, though.
All right. What is a drongo?
Just a bit of an idiot, bit of a fool.
What about a dag?
Someone who's a bit of a dork, maybe unfashionable.
What is chuckasicki?
That's just call in sick.
Use all these in a sentence.
Our boss is a bit of a drongo, expects too much hard yakka from us, so I chucked a sickie, took him to the footy, but it was chockers, so we... Oh, what did I miss? Oh, so we went to Steve-O's house. He's a bit of a dag.
And that was Monty Franklin. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Jordan Peterson.
You said yes again, not because you wanted to, but because the silence after no feels unbearable. You've been carrying someone else's emotional weight so long, you've forgotten what it feels like to put it down. You apologize for having needs. You shrink yourself to keep the peace. And somehow, at the end of every day, you're the one who ends up empty. You're not weak. You're just unprotected. Here's the thing. Most empaths don't have a sensitivity problem. They have a boundary problem. Most people don't realize this, but the very trait that makes you so deeply caring is the same trait being quietly exploited. This is where it gets really interesting. Setting boundaries isn't about becoming cold. It's about finally becoming safe. Comment. I relate if you've ever felt more exhausted by people than energized by them. In Bible, God says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs 4:23. My name is Dr. Jordan Peterson, and I spend way too much time thinking about narcissism, emotional intelligence, and human behavior. Buy brace if you're someone who gives endlessly to others but never quite knows how to protect your own peace. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Bite play. And give this video a thumbs up if this helps you finally see what's really going on. Blight now. Let's discuss those boundaries. Blacks is no one the energy drain boundary. Blacks is no one the energy drain boundary. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that empaths know better than anyone else. It's not the tiredness that comes from physical labor or a long day of work. It's deeper than that. It lives somewhere behind your eyes and inside your chest. A heaviness that follows you into sleep and greets you again in the morning before you've even had a chance to remember why you're tired. And the painful truth is, most of the time, that exhaustion has a face. It has a name. It's someone you love, someone you care for, someone you've convinced yourself needs you in a way that only you can provide. Bodzir, Blas. Bodzir. This is what no one tells you about being an empath. You don't just feel your own emotions, you absorb the emotional atmosphere of every room you walk into, every conversation you have, every person who sits across from you and starts talking about their problems. You become a sponge without ever choosing to be one. And because you feel things so deeply, because you genuinely care in ways that most people simply don't, you become a magnet for people who need to offload. People who are struggling, people who are draining, people who have learned, consciously or not, that you will always have something left to give, even when you have nothing left for yourself. Bowl by Brack, the energy drain boundary is not about becoming selfish. Let that sink in, because that fear is exactly what keeps most empaths from ever setting this boundary in the first place. The moment you even consider pulling back, limiting your availability, or saying, I don't have the emotional capacity for this right now, the guilt rushes in like a flood. You start telling yourself that you're abandoning people, that you're being cold, that this isn't who you are. But here's what you need to understand. A boundary around your energy is not a wall that keeps people out. It is a gate that you control, and you get to decide who comes through it, when and how far. Bright, brav, trained, think about the people in your life right now. Not all of them, just the ones that come to mind immediately when you feel that particular kind of drain. There's usually a pattern. These are the people whose phone calls leave you needing to lie down afterward. The ones whose messages create a low-grade anxiety in your body before you've even opened them. The ones who bring every conversation back to their pain, their chaos, their crisis, and who somehow never seem to notice that you might be carrying something too. These aren't necessarily bad people, but they are energetically costly relationships, and you have been paying a price you never agreed to. Blast 5, the reason empaths struggle so profoundly with this boundary is because somewhere along the way you learned that your value was connected to your availability. That being needed meant being loved. That showing up for others, no matter the cost to yourself, was the thing that made you worthy of staying. That belief didn't come from nowhere. For many empaths, it was learned in childhood in homes where emotional labor was how you earned safety, where being useful meant being protected, where love felt conditional on how much you could give. And so you carried that blueprint into every relationship that followed, giving and giving and giving, wondering why you always ended up empty. Blably. But here is the psychological reality that changes everything. You cannot pour from an empty vessel, and more importantly, you should not be expected to. The people who truly love you, who genuinely value who you are and not just what you provide, will not crumble when you say you need space. They will not punish you for having limits. They will not make you feel guilty for being human. The ones who react with anger, withdrawal, or manipulation when you begin protecting your energy, that reaction itself tells you everything you need to know about why the boundary was necessary in the first place. Braver at setting the energy drain boundary looks like this in practice. It looks like not answering every call the moment it comes in. It looks like ending conversations when you feel yourself beginning to disappear inside someone else's emotional spiral. It looks like being honest, gently but clearly, when you don't have the capacity to hold space right now. It looks like choosing on purpose to spend time with people who restore you rather than only spending time with people who require you. You are not a therapist. You are not a rescue service. You are a human being with a nervous system that deserves protection. And the moment you start treating your own energy as something sacred, something worth guarding, is the moment everything begins to shift. Brad Big, that is where your healing actually starts. # boundary 2, the guilt manipulation boundary. There is a specific moment every empatho knows intimately. It's the moment you finally gather the courage to say no, or to speak your truth, or to simply ask for something you need. And instead of being met with understanding, you are met with a look, a silence, a sigh, or worse, a sentence that starts with, "I just thought you cared about me," or "Fine, I'll figure it out myself," or "I guess I'm just a burden to you." And just like that, before you've even had a chance to process what happened, the guilt has already moved in and taken over. Suddenly, you're not the person who set a reasonable boundary. You're the villain in someone else's story. And the worst part, you believed it. This is guilt manipulation. And for empaths, it is the most dangerous dynamic you will ever encounter in a relationship, precisely because it works so well on you. It works because you are wired for empathy. You feel other people's pain as if it were your own. So when someone you care about performs distress in response to your boundary, your nervous system responds as though you have genuinely caused harm. Your body floods with anxiety. Your mind starts scanning for what you did wrong. Your instinct is to fix it, to apologize, to take it back, to make the discomfort stop. And in doing so, you abandon yourself completely, not because you were actually wrong, but because you were made to feel wrong. The distinction you must understand is this. There is a profound difference between someone who is genuinely hurt and communicates that hurt with honesty and vulnerability, and someone who uses the performance of hurt as a mechanism to control your behavior. Genuine hurt sounds like, when you said that, I felt dismissed and I want to talk about it. Guilt manipulation sounds like, I can't believe you would do this to me after everything I've done for you. One is an invitation to connection. The other is a sentence designed to put you on trial. And empaths, because of how deeply they care, almost always confuse the two. What makes this boundary so difficult to set is that guilt manipulation rarely announces itself clearly. It disguises itself as love. It hides behind the language of sacrifice. I've given you so much. I've given you so much. I've always been there for you. I never ask for anything. It presents itself as vulnerability when it is actually leverage. The person using it may not even be fully conscious of what they're doing. Many people who guilt manipulate learned this pattern in their own childhood as the only way they knew how to hold on to people who kept leaving. That context is worth having compassion for. But compassion for someone's history does not oblige you to become a casualty of their unhealed patterns. The guilt manipulation boundary requires something that is genuinely difficult for empaths It requires you to stay grounded in your own reality, even when someone is aggressively presenting a different one. It requires you to be able to sit in the discomfort of someone else's displeasure without immediately interpreting that displeasure as proof that you were wrong. This is not a small thing. For someone who has spent years using other people's emotional states as a barometer for whether they are safe, learning to tolerate someone's anger or disappointment without collapsing is an act of radical psychological courage. In practice, this boundary looks like pausing before you apologize. It looks like asking yourself, did I actually do something harmful? Or did I simply do something that was inconvenient for someone who is used to me having no limits? It looks like noticing the pattern when guilt consistently follows your moments of self-assertion. It looks like refusing to negotiate your boundaries mid-guilt trip, because the moment you do, you have taught that person exactly which button to press to get what they want from you in the future. It also looks like getting very honest about the relationships in your life where you feel permanently indebted, where you never quite feel like you've given enough, where love feels like a transaction you're always behind on. Those feelings, NGS, are not evidence of your inadequacy. They are evidence of an imbalance that someone else has a vested interest in maintaining. Your empathy is one of the most beautiful things about you, but it is not a weapon someone else gets to use against you. The moment you recognize guilt for what it is, a manipulation tactic dressed in emotional clothing, you stop being its prisoner. And that recognition, as uncomfortable as it is what finally sets you free. You were never the villain. You were just someone who cared too much to see the trap. # boundary 3, the self-abandonment boundary. There is a version of you that existed before you learned to make yourself smaller, before you learned to edit your needs in real time based on how someone else might receive them, before you started finishing other people's sentences in your head and adjusting your truth accordingly, before you became so practiced at reading the room that you forgot how to simply be in it. That version of you had opinions without apology, had feelings without immediately questioning whether those feelings were too much, had a sense of self that didn't shift depending on who was standing in front of you. And somewhere along the way, quietly and without a single dramatic moment, you drifted away from that person, not because someone forced you out, but because you kept choosing them over yourself, one small moment at a time, until the distance became so vast you could barely remember the way back. This is self-abandonment. And for empaths, it is the most invisible wound of all, because it doesn't happen through one catastrophic event. It happens through 1,000 tiny surrenders. It happens every time you swallow what you actually think, because you don't want to cause conflict. Every time you minimize your own pain to focus on someone else's. Every time you talk yourself out of your own instincts because someone else seems so certain. Every time you ask yourself, am I being too sensitive? After someone has treated you in a way that genuinely hurt, those moments seem small in isolation. But accumulated over months and years, they create a life that fits everyone around you perfectly and fits you not at all. The psychological cost of chronic self-abandonment is staggering and deeply underestimated. When you consistently override your own needs, feelings, and instincts in favor of other people's comfort, you are not just losing energy, you are losing the thread of your own identity. You begin to experience a kind of internal static, a low-grade anxiety that hums beneath the surface of everything because some part of you knows that the life you are living is not fully yours. You may not be able to name it. You may just feel vaguely hollow, vaguely restless, vaguely like something important is missing, even when everything looks fine from the outside. That hollowness is not depression in the clinical sense. It is the feeling of a self that has been left behind too many times. What makes the self-abandonment boundary uniquely challenging for empaths is that self-abandonment often feels like love. It feels like devotion, like loyalty, like being a good partner or friend or child or parent. The narrative you tell yourself is noble. I put others first because I care. And while that impulse comes from a genuinely beautiful place, there is a critical line between. And generosity and erasure. Generosity gives from a place of fullness. Erasure gives from a place of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being seen as selfish, fear that your authentic self is simply too much for the people you love to handle. And when fear is the engine behind your giving, it is not really giving at all. It is self-protection, wearing the costume of selflessness. Setting the self-abandonment boundary begins with one of the most uncomfortable practices an empathy can undertake, learning to take your own inner experience seriously, not more seriously than everyone else's, just as seriously. It means when something hurts, you acknowledge that it hurts instead of immediately rationalizing why it shouldn't. It means when you have a need, you treat that need as legitimate data rather than an inconvenience to be suppressed. It means developing the radical habit of asking yourself before you respond to what everyone else needs, what do I actually need right now? Not what should I need, not what would be easier for everyone if I needed. What if I actually, honestly, genuinely need? This boundary also requires you to grieve something real. The relationships and dynamics that were built on the version of you that had no edges. Because when you stop abandoning yourself, some people will not know what to do with you. Some will push back. Some will accuse you of changing, of being different, of being selfish. And they will be right that you are different. But different here does not mean worse. It means whole. It means present. It means finally showing up to your own life instead of perpetually showing up to everyone else's. The most profound thing you will ever do as an empath is decide that you are also someone worth showing up for. That your inner world deserves the same tenderness you have spent a lifetime extending outward. That coming home to yourself is not a betrayal of the people you love. It is the very thing that makes your love sustainable, genuine, and free. You cannot give anyone a real version of you if you have spent years hiding from yourself. The boundary is not a wall, it is a return, and you are long overdue for coming home. If no one has told you this lately, the fact that you feel so deeply is not your flaw, it is your gift. But gifts without protection get stolen. You have spent long enough pouring yourself into people and places that never poured back. These 3 boundaries are not about becoming someone cold or closed. They are about finally becoming someone whole. Guard your energy, recognize manipulation, stop abandoning yourself. The world needs your empathy.
And that was Jordan Peterson. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you're not neutral and that the government has no rights.